I'm Caitlin McMillan, Project Manager of Tech Pathways London. I'm joined here today for our remote interview by Waleed. So Waleed, could you kick us off by introducing yourself and describing your job?
Sure thing. So I am Waleed. I am a product manager at Sneak, and I've been there for about a year, but I've been doing product management for about 4 years now.
Great. And how did you get to where you are today?
So I actually have no technical bone in my body. I have never written a line of code until I started work. I don't do a computer science degree or anything like that. I did chemistry at university, just because I liked sort of being able to model things in my head. I also liked the use of like practical things. It was great fun, and deep analysis of stuff. It was great being able to break stuff down. But after my degree, I was in the pool of every other graduate who just needed money at the time. And so what I did was that I scoured graduate schemes from the top of the country to the bottom. And one of my friends from university who was on my course as well, she'd done a lot of computer-based things. She was also on chemistry, and she was at IBM. And so what I did as well, I just sort of threw my hat into the ring and hoped for the best for a technical writing role, which is not product management. And and I was lucky enough to have gotten that role. And they wanted me there because of my sort of analytical skills, which is great. So that was a good sort of step into the IT, like the technical industry, right? It's IBM, you know, IBM, they are legacy. Like back in the day, huge. So it was an interesting journey to get into tech. I never saw myself in tech. I thought that I would be doing like maybe chemistry things, like working in a lab or doing rep work. But I was in tech. I did technical writing for a couple of years or so, and then I kind of felt like, you know what, I wanna lead. I want to do more leadership things. I want to make more decisions. I want to not necessarily control a team or anything like that, or like have people to manage, but I want to lead what they do, recommend, and try to guide things. Because that's kind of what you do as a product manager. So I took a look at the jobs that IBM had internally, and I saw the product management role. And I thought, yeah, this looks great. I've got some experience in IBM, like I've been here for like 2.5 years. It's great. But then when I went to knock on the door of the person who had this hiring ticket, she was like, oh, but you don't have a business degree. And so I thought, oh man, so I've gone into this tech company without a tech degree, and now I want a business role without a business degree. What do I do? And she was like, okay, right, here's some things that you can do. So she gave me a list of things to study, like people to shadow and all this sort of stuff. And that was really useful, people to mentor and try to reach out to mentor people as well. And that was great. So I used every free resource that I could find. And I just did a lot of education in the evenings about product management, mainly around marketing, decision-making, being pragmatic, that kind of thing. So that was literally just me going on Google, typing things in and hoping for the best. Not a single penny paid there. And then I started following people around and just sort of seeing what they did in meetings, and just generally try to emulate them in my own meetings and do my own bits of work around them too. So it's like I tried to get some work experience as well. So I mean, you're never too old to have an internship, even within a company. And after that, I did some mentorship as well. I reached out to my university, and I basically offered my services as someone who's in the tech industry who can do some mentorship as to how to write a CV, how to become a technical writer, but also how to maybe get your foot in the door at the tech industry. And the biggest piece of advice that I gave every single person who was a mentor of mine at the time from my university is that you don't have to be technical to get into the tech industry. Because I think in my team of 10, at that time, only 2 people did comp sci. Only 2 people did computer science. We had someone from music. We had a German degree graduate. We had someone who didn't even have a degree. They did some courses and got a diploma. It was great. And then we had like someone doing architect. It was a range of people. So that's why I specifically asked my university, can you let me mentor people who don't do computer science? Because the people who do computer science, they kind of know what they want to do, but it's the ones that who haven't had that background, or not even a science background, who are interested in technology. They're the people that I really want to connect with, because I want to try to open the door a bit more. Anyway, so I did some work for about 8 months, managed to do some mentoring, mentored people, did some reading, and lo and behold, I was persistent enough and I networked enough. Like, I tried to make sure that every single product manager in that building knew who I was. And one tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, we have an opening, apply for it." And I managed to get it because I was the first applicant and I did a good enough job, which was great. And I stayed in that role within IBM for a couple of years, and I got a ton of experience. I went to conferences, I spoke at conferences, I went to client sites, I did webinars, I did everything, because as a product manager, you have to know the product inside and out. You've got to be able to make decisions. You've got to know the industry, your competitors, your clients, what their needs and problems are. That's one of the big things you need to do. You need to understand what the issue is that you're trying to solve. What are the use cases? What is the pain point that a client has, and how can you help? But not only that, you've got to figure out what is the cost of this solution, and what is the reward for it. You've got to really balance all this stuff up quite regularly. Anyway, so I did the big corporate thing for a couple more years with IBM as a product manager. And then I came to a small to medium-sized startup, which is Sneak. And it is phenomenal. The way that they work, the culture, the sort of the ways of working really suits a product manager who's very, high energy, has to keep going and everything too, because they use agile methodologies. And what that often translates into is, sprint-based development. So every 2 weeks, they deliver something. So it's not like you have this big mountain of work. Our chief product officer tries to describe it as rather than and I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but if you're going to eat an elephant, you don't eat a big chunk of it. You slice it into little bits. And it's a ridiculous analogy. He calls it an elephant carpaccio, but it also kind of fits the bill. So that's kind of how agile development works. Like, you're meant to try and slice things up into as little things as possible, try and deliver value every sprint. And it's great. It really suits a product manager who wants to just sort of focus and break things into manageable stuff. But yeah, that's me as a product manager, and that's my journey. And I've been there for about 7-8 months now.
Excellent. And you are very on brand today. If you could show us your t-shirt.
So this is Sneak. Everything is purple. Everything is purple.
Always on brand. So you've been in your job for 7-8 months, as you said. Can you talk us through kind of either a recent workday or a kind of standard workday? I guess most recent workdays haven't been that standard.
Well, actually, so that's the beauty of the tech industry. That's what I love about the tech industry, is that, we can keep making it. I mean, things are obviously very difficult outside. But we are fortunate enough to be in the type of industry which doesn't necessarily get affected by that too much. Like, we don't have to be in the office. Our company culture is very, very, understanding and flexible, so we can work from home as and when we need to. And obviously, because we've got offices in London and Tel Aviv and everyone and Boston, like, these are very it's very difficult to live in an area which is easy to commute to work in. Like, the real estate is very expensive. So you can work from home. We've got people all over the country, like Bristol. We've got someone in Yorkshire. Like, we've got people in Amsterdam as well. We don't even have an office there. So it makes it quite flexible. But yes, just to circle back. So a day in the life. So what's amazing with technology is that I think it was Steve Jobs that said, doing something simple is the hardest thing. And you cannot agree with that more until, like, when you're in the industry, that is it's the hardest thing, because hacking something, like creating something quick and easy and simple for someone to use, that is super easy. That is super quick. But the thing is that you leave a ton of exposure, you leave yourself vulnerable massively. But creating something that is simple, sustainable, and scalable, that is hard. And you just have to look at your software that you use today, whatever it is, like, whatever, even this recording tool that we're using today, like, every single little component has a team dedicated to it, because you need to be able to ship stuff out quickly, consistently, and efficiently as well. Like, you've got to make sure that there's a good return of investment there. So for me, I manage a team which focuses on the issues of a customer that is scaling, that is, trying to grow and work at scale. So has a large number of issues that they're dealing with, has a large number of people that they're dealing with, is a large organization. So I've got to think, right, okay, so what is the performance of the software going to look like? Are they going to be slow? Is it going to take a while for something to load? What are the permissions that they're going to look at? Are there going to be any exposures that we're going to look at, or they're going to suffer from? And so I have to really think about that. And so my team has to work on several different things at one time. So a day in the life for our team is that we have a lot of plates to spin. I have to keep track of what the progress is looking like. I've got to keep track of our timelines. I've got to keep stakeholders invested and aware as to what the issues are. I've got to talk to customers. That's a huge part of the job. Like pretty much every day I'm talking to a different customer, because we're either developing a feature that they have interest in. And so I have to feed back to them, hey, this is what's happening. This is how we're doing so far. Do you want to maybe play around with it? Like we can put you on the list of beta users. And then I've got to also do various sort of marketing based things as well, like product management. You know, there's a lot of outward focus and inward focus, because you are effectively in the middle of things coming into your company and things going out as well. So what I mean by that is that you're in the middle. You've got your development team, your marketing team, your design team, your sales team, all on this side, and then you're also looking outwards. You're looking at your competitors. You're looking at the market. You're looking at your customers as well, and you're trying to effectively take all of that information and try to go, right, this is what we're going to make, and this is why. So that's kind of what I've been doing every single day. And sometimes, because you're working in this quick 2-week fashion, it can sometimes mean that days like blur into one, because it's almost a different project every single week. But it's great. Like, it means that things keep moving quickly. You never get bored, and it means that you get to just keep talking to people, and that is the most fun. Like, the people that you talk to, the people you learn about, and the things that you see are incredible. And yeah, it's great. Like, I couldn't think of a different job that I'd rather be in.
That's lovely. What a nice thing to hear. In terms of kind of digital skills, so let's kind of drill down on that.
Sure.
What digital skills would you say you use on a daily basis?
So on a daily basis, you know, you've got to have your basic sort of word processing skills. Being able to use like PowerPoint for me is bread and butter. I know that in the tech industry, there's obviously, with product managers, we get a bit of a we get, you know, poked fun at for just being slideshow jockeys, and all we do is do presentations and glitzy pictures and stuff. But it's a bit more than that. So we also have to be able to structure data quite well. We have to do quite a lot of data science and analysis as well. We have to try and pull in sales figures. Technical skills wise, so for me, it's quite important that I can actually use the product. So very recently, I've learned how to use APIs. So I use Postman for that. I've also taught myself a bit of JavaScript in my spare time through the free resources that you can get anywhere on the internet. But I think what is also quite useful, so what I found quite useful, is being able to use design tools. Things like Sketch and everything too. That's been really, really useful, because I've got to try to, if I've got a vision for how something looks, I need to be able to try and show what it looks like itself. So we've got some licenses for that, which is great. So I've taught myself how to use that. In addition, we are trying to use more collaborative tools like Mural, which is great. So being able to have tools which allow you to collaborate just regardless of where you are, that's also very valuable. And then basic video conferencing tools. For me, those are sort of like the bread and butter of what I absolutely need.
Brilliant. And kind of moving on from that, related, if you were talking to an educator, someone working with young people, what digital skills would you encourage them to support their young people in getting, to make life a little bit easier for those young people when they're sitting where you are now?
Sure. So I think that there are an absolute wealth of tools that you can use online, and pretty much picking any language, like every single, like the industry, there's a reason that there's so many languages that are in demand in the industry right now, because every single company uses a completely different language. Companies also create their different languages too. But specifically, I think right now the sort of flavor of the month that people are trying to go for are things that Apple iOS tend to develop. So I think that they've got a new security, like a security framework called CocoaPods. So learning about that, being able to learn about Kubernetes and Docker is also really, really important, because containerization is super, super useful. Learning about SaaS products, so that's software as a service. So learning about the cloud, learning about how you can create cloud applications is super useful. learning how to script will make their own lives better. I think that is probably for me one of the biggest things, of if you can encourage someone to learn a skill that they can bring into their personal lives, that's going to help dividends, because they can then go, oh, this is great, why don't I apply it to this? And the number of people that I know who script basic daily home life things, like for example, they will create an app which runs off a script which basically says, right, okay, at the end of every month, whatever I haven't used up based on my salary, put that directly into my savings account, that kind of a thing. So basic app building based on that is pretty good as well. So overall, to summarize, any language is great, but my preference is probably going to be JavaScript, C++, C#. And then being able to learn about containers and Kubernetes and Docker is also very useful. Learning about cloud and cloud platforms. So your big ones like Red Hat OpenShift, IBM Cloud, Amazon Cloud, Google Cloud, Azure, and being able to learn how to create scripts and applications. I know that sounds like a big shopping list, but you can definitely break that down into smaller things, and just getting a general awareness and then finding out what you like is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that notion of finding real world applications for those things, because it makes you kind of focus in on them, is really key.
Yeah, you get more invested.
I need that app that sort of sorts your savings out for you.
Yeah.
So, well, on to our final question. What advice would you give to a young person who wants to enter the digital sector? And it sounds like you've been giving that advice to young people at your university. So what have you been telling them?
Yeah, so the advice that I give to just about anyone, like I used to do a lot of job fairs and everything too, and I would open up with, "Are you interested in technology?" And if they said yes, then I'd be like, "Right, go for it." And then the second that they would start saying, "Oh, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this?" Like for example, "Oh, but I don't have the qualifications. Oh, I don't have the experience. Oh, I don't have the right degree." It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like, you keep hearing stories about people who make the next $1 million app. They often don't have a background in tech to have done that. They often have an idea. So if you have an idea that you think could change the world, or you want to help fuel ideas that change the world, but you don't have a tech background, that's fine. As long as you have the motivation to try and learn, then do it. Like, don't let, the only thing that holds yourself back is you. Like, you are the only thing that will hold yourself back. If you have an interest in tech, whether it's building it, whether it is selling it, whether it is managing it, like me, like, go for it, because there is nothing that will stop you. There is no barrier. There is no, you must have this degree. Like, absolutely not. One of the leading members in our organization has an architecture degree and just learned coding on the go, because that's how coding works. It's just a language. And I don't know, I can't code well or at all, like, but I do know I can understand concepts. And I have a chemistry degree, right? That I've not done anything with computers. So all I would say is, do not limit yourself. Don't think that you are beyond learning about technology. Anyone at any age can learn about technology, because it's so vast, and the number of roles that you have within technology are so vast. Don't associate technology with just coding. It's more than just coding.
Great. Well, on that inspirational note, I'm going to say thank you so much for today, Waleed. That's brilliant. And thank you.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure.